This is Minister Carnes. Welcome to another edition of Translation and Interpretation. Is Sunday the new Sabbath? Let us take a closer look to see if this is true. Historically, here is how Sunday became a day of worship. Eusebius, a Christian church father who became the bishop of Caesarea Maritima around 314 CE. Eusebius stated that the Sabbath had been transferred to Sunday. Emperor Constantine of Rome issued an official order or proclamation that led many people to observe Sunday as the day of worship or rest in 321 CE. The first day of the week and Sunday worship. The term Sunday is not found in the scripture nor in the New Testament. As a matter of fact, the first day of the week is not found in the manuscripts of the New Testament. However, we do see it in our English translations. Before we begin, I need to define two terms. A cardinal number is a number that says how many of something there are, such as 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. An ordinal number is a number that tells the position of something, as in first, second, third, fourth, and fifth. The Greek word for first is proton. It's Strong's number G4412. The Greek word for one is mia, which is G3391. I need you to be able to recognize the differences between proton, which means first, and mia, which means one. Here is something you need to pay attention to. The Greek word for week is pronounced hebdomada. Hebdomada. The first day of the week appears 8 times in the New Testament. Let's take a look at Matthew chapter 28 verse 1. Now after the evening of the Sabbath, toward the dawn of the first day of the week, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary went to see the tomb. Let us analyze Matthew chapter 28 verse 1. Now after the evening, the word evening was added into the text. Of the Sabbath, it should be Sabbaths. Growing toward the dawn of the first, which should be one, the term day was added. Of the week should be Sabbaths. Mary Magdalene and the other Mary went to see the tomb. Now that we have done the analytics, this is how the verse should read. Yet after the Sabbaths, at the growing up until one of the Sabbaths, came Mary Magdalene and the other Mary to behold the tomb. Let us take a look at Mark chapter 16 verse 2. And very early on the first day of the week, when the sun had risen, they went to the tomb. Let's take a look at the analytics. And very early on the first, the Greek word is mia, which means one. The word day was added, and the word week should be Sabbaths. When the sun had risen, they went to the tomb. Now that we understand the analytics, we can get a better reading of Mark chapter 16 verse 2. And very early on one of the Sabbaths, when the sun had risen, they went to the tomb. Let's take a look at 1 Corinthians chapter 16 verses 1 and 2. Now concerning the collection for the saints, as I directed the churches of Galatia, so you also are to do on the first day of every week, each of you is to put something aside and store it up, as he may prosper, so that there will be no collecting when I come. Let us take a look at the analytics. Now concerning the collection for the saints, as I directed the churches of Galatia, so you also are to do. On the first, the word there is actually mia, which means one. Day of every is added, and the word week should be Shabbat. Each of you to put something aside and store it up, as he may prosper, so that there be no collecting when I come. Now that we have done the analytics, let's see if we can get a better translation. Now concerning the collection for the saints, even as I prescribe to the assembly of Galatia, thus do you also. On one of the Sabbaths, let each of you lay aside by himself in store that in which he should be prospered, that no collection may be occurring whenever I may come. The phrase first day of the week appears 8 times in the New Testament. Matthew 28:1, Mark 16:2, Mark 16:9, Luke 24:1, John 20:1, John 20:19, Acts chapter 20 verse 7, 1 Corinthians 16 verse 2. When we look at first day of the week in its proper context and its translation, it should be one of the Sabbaths and not first day of the week. One of the Sabbaths, you may ask, what is it referring to? It is actually referring to the feast days, more specifically Pentecost, Shavuot, or the Feast of Weeks. We can know this by looking at Leviticus chapter 23 verses 9 through 16. However, let me focus on Leviticus chapter 23 verses 15 and 16. And you shall count, and we're talking about one of the Sabbaths, you shall count from the next day after the Sabbath, from the day that you brought the sheaf of the wave offering, 7 Sabbaths shall be completed. The next day after the 7th Sabbath, you shall count 50 days, and you shall offer a new meal offering to Yah. The phrase first day of the week used to justify Sunday worship is an error. Now the question becomes, why is the phrase the first day of the week in the text? The translators had translation issues from the Greek into the English based on their own doctrinal beliefs and not what the manuscripts state. In essence, the translators put their beliefs in the text. Until next time, this is the minister. Shalom, shalom.